Hello and welcome to the first episode of the Even Worse podcast, where the films are bad and the podcast is even worse. I'm your host, Matthew Rogers. Joining me today,
Drew Myers.
Hey, Cade McCarley.
Josh Summers.
So today we're basically watching probably the quintessential bad movie, right?
Of course.
Like the whole podcast is about watching bad movies. And I think we're
starting off with a doozy. We're starting off my personal favorite worst film of all time. I'm a big, huge The Room fanatic.
Which is the movie?
Yeah, which is the movie, of course, The Room. Tommy Wiseau, directed, produced, written, all the above. It's been called the Citizen Kane of bad movies. So
that's good.
We're gonna give it a
means
shot.
something. And I mean, Citizen Kane is already not that good of a movie.
Oh,
don't at me though. Okay,
right.
So basically, like you guys are sort of already seeing this, but how this podcast is going to work is we're going to have essentially like an expert for the film. They know sort of the history, the production, everything about the film, and then the other three sort of don't know a lot. I mean,
it's gonna be me.
Yeah, and me too. And I'm not the expert. So our expert for
y'all
today
are in for a treat.
is Cade. And so Cade, you've seen the movie.
Yeah,
Josh, you've seen it as well.
It's become quite a cult film since it was released in 2003, and there was a lot of speculation of like how was this movie made? Because it lost all of its production crew halfway through the movie, and Tommy Wiseau had to rehire all of its production crew.
How did he lose it? Do you know?
Because everyone said this is horrible. Y'all can't make a movie out of this.
That's awesome.
So, but yeah, if you haven't seen it, I encourage you. They have screenings all the time for this movie. I know, like, we're in Austin, and they're having one at the Alamo Draft House this Sunday. If you can go out and see a screening of this film, I highly recommend it because it is one hell of a ride. So,
excited.
Highly recommend it.
So we're recording this intro before we've seen the film, at least before a few of us have seen the film. So right now, we're gonna stop recording. We're going to watch the film, and then we'll be back. See you shortly.
All right.
Hi.
Can I help you?
Yeah, can I have a dozen red roses, please?
Oh, hi, Johnny. I didn't know it was you. Here you go.
That's me. How much is it?
It'll be $18.
Here you go. Keep the change. Hi, doggy.
You're my favorite customer.
Thanks a lot. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Oh, hi, Mark. Okay, so we just watched The Room. I don't even know where to start.
What?
There is.
It's pretty great, isn't it? It was awesome. God.
That is one word for that movie, and then there are a lot of other words.
Yeah.
I understand now why you had us watch this for our first.
Oh yeah, this had to be the first one. It's the pinnacle. Like,
There's so many things wrong. Just so many. There's really nothing right about this movie at all.
I think I could find like one thing right with this movie.
The one thing right is Mr. Tommy Wiseau himself. Man's a genius in his own little way. I mean, he gave us the Holy Trinity. Produced, directed, and written by Tommy Wiseau.
So I think the Holy Trinity is writing, directing, starring.
Yeah.
Produced is like whatever.
Yeah, sure.
But that Holy
Writing,
Trinity.
directing, starring. All right,
Let's start with his voice. What accent?
So
I think it's like a combination of like Stitch and like Russian.
So a little bit about Tommy Wiseau.
Hold on.
Stitch for like Lilo and Stitch.
Okay, yeah. So a little bit about Tommy Wiseau is, if you look at his Wikipedia page, but don't trust Wikipedia, but if you look at his Wikipedia page, it says very little is known about Tommy Wiseau's private life.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But what we can gather is that he lived in France for a little bit. That's all we know. And then, now there's a book written by Greg Sestero, the guy who plays Mark, called The Disaster Artist. It talks all about the making of The Room. And James Franco's adapting that into a film. James Franco is playing Tommy Wiseau.
Which I'm really excited for.
And Dave Franco is playing Greg Sestero. Mark. It's going to be great. But, so, yeah, in the book, it says Mark, Greg Sestero, met Tommy Wiseau in acting classes.
Wow.
And there was some kind of...
Weren't paying attention.
Where
did they go to school at? Yeah.
He decided to make this film, and he put Greg Sestero in it, and the biggest thing is nobody knows where the money came to make this movie, because this was
$6 million budget.
Yeah, $6 million budget.
Where did that money go to?
Nobody knows. Nobody knows.
Candles, mostly.
Yeah. Nobody knows how he got this like endless supply of money. So
you're talking about they met in acting class. I feel like Greg Sestero, the guy who played Mark, was actually like not that bad.
okay, yeah, he was pretty bad actually in that movie.
Well, no, it depends on what you have to
He was
work
very
with.
wooded. He's very wooded.
Yeah.
Okay, but compared to like Lisa, who is that's a whole nother discussion.
Lisa, we'll
Compared
get
to
into Lisa.
Compared to Tommy, I feel like he is probably one of the strongest actors in this film.
I guess if you want to call him a strong actor, but yeah, he's the strongest in the film.
Yeah.
If you want to call him.
So, like, from you guys having a first viewing, like, what was the one thing that you could say stood out to you the most?
The one thing that stood out to me the most by far, and I wrote this down like 10 different times, was the dubbing. One could argue that 100% of that film was dubbed.
Yeah,
One could argue that,
probably.
and dubbed terribly.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's not a scene that I saw where the voice was matching with the lips.
Yeah.
It looked like a Japanese film that you'd watch that was changed to English. You know what I'm talking about, where the lips would move without the English talking?
Oh.
It's what it reminded me of.
Oh,
That was terrible throughout the film.
It just because I don't really know. I wasn't paying attention. I don't really know who's the editor of the film. I don't think we have that written down or something.
Ghost
Maybe we can try on
IMDb
IMDb.
it.
But the dubbing and the green screen, like just talk about the green screen of that film. Like it's supposed to be San Francisco, and I know you'll mention it a couple times. Like the skyline of the Golden Gate Bridge and
it's just
Full House music
straight out of
playing.
Full House.
Yes, just start playing the Full House music. I mean, it does like 4 or 5 times in the film where it just shows the
It's like
skyline
in
of the
case you
Golden Gate
forgot, we're
Bridge.
still in San Francisco.
Yeah.
Well, it's one of those films like you see like a movie like Taxi Driver set in New York where it really embodies the city's personality.
Oh yeah, this does exactly.
But
the
then you
opposite.
have
What
something like this where
personality does San Francisco have?
Yeah.
basically
Well, you saw the smug in there, remember?
Yeah.
The smug. Remember, it's 100% smugness in San Francisco. They smell their own farts.
Thank you, South Park.
that's a good reference.
Okay, so you're talking about dubbing and how it doesn't match up. One of the first things I wrote down is I'm convinced they don't believe in second takes. There was like
Yeah,
I
probably
believe that.
not. Like,
Save film.
look, and like I
What do
said,
you think they're spending money on?
like I said earlier, I mean, this movie lost its entire production crew. And its entire production crew halfway through the film, and it's just like
it's pretty seamless though.
because like I guess you wouldn't know, and maybe that's I haven't read about this, but maybe that's why the character of Peter appears earlier in the film, and then later in the film he just completely disappears.
true.
So
Maybe
the
that's
crew
because,
was
you
it
know,
actors or more like production staff?
it was their production staff. Most of the actors stayed on for the entire time.
Sure.
But I think that's just because they were receiving a pretty big paycheck.
Yeah.
Relative.
Probably where the $6
Yeah,
million went.
relative. Exactly.
So, if you had to describe the plot of The Room in one sentence, Matt, how would you describe it? How would you tell someone about the movie?
Okay, so let me think. So there's key points you gotta hit on. You gotta hit on Johnny. You gotta hit on Lisa. You gotta hit on Mark and Lisa's relationship.
Yeah.
So I feel like it should. Oh god, I'm not good at thinking on the spot here. Johnny and Lisa are in love, but Lisa's unfortunate falling out of love and falling into love with Mark tears Johnny apart.
Literally.
I was
Now, Matt is not an English major.
See, this is what I'm gonna say. This is what I'm gonna say though. That's a great plot, but you don't want to. The way I think about The Room is you don't want to put it into a plot because you're still missing. When you say it like that, you're still missing the mom's breast cancer. You're missing
Okay,
the complete,
let's talk about that for a second.
the complete character of Denny, who's
drug
a very
addiction.
the drug addiction. So actually, here's a question I wanted to ask y'all. So there's an entire scene on the rooftop where Denny gets mauled by gets attacked by a drug dealer that he owes money to. What kind of drugs do you think Denny was
Let's
using?
go. Okay, you go. What do you think?
I'm gonna say black tar heroin.
Okay.
I think you're wrong.
Yeah,
Explain.
I'm probably wrong.
Explain.
I don't know. Denny just strikes me as a black tar heroin kind of guy. So, how about you, Josh?
Honestly, there's a plethora of drugs that Danny's on.
Yeah.
I have no idea how to pinpoint that. The only other drug reference we get in the movie is Mark smoking.
Yeah, Mark
smoking
smoke.
like
Well,
Tom.
we don't know if it's a cigarette or weed.
It is weed. I think it's the good stuff. He said it's the good stuff.
Yeah, it's the good
He said I
stuff.
don't smoke that
I
anymore.
think there's a close up where you can kind of determine that. But,
Okay,
but
all right.
yeah, there's no mention of any of Diddy's problems at all.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that for a second too. The grandma first, and then also the grandma yelling at Danny because I mean they had just met.
Yeah. So, exactly. I mean, they just.
she's yelling at her like he's her
"Who is this
mom?"
guy? Yeah. Like, there's so many issues with the film, but man. So I guess we can just go ahead and start talking about good old Lisa. Lisa is an enigma of a character. She probably is. Don't know if she's.
Can
the
you
main
define
character.
the word enigma for me first?
Oh, she's just everything about Lisa. I mean, we can all agree that we hate her, right?
Yeah,
sure.
She's the worst in every single way. I mean, she is a total slut. Complete, and she just, she just she just does everything wrong in this film and makes our flawed hero Johnny just. Everything bad happens to him because of Lisa.
Sure, I think like Johnny's like kind of a perfect character in the sense that he's like the perfect boyfriend.
Though he has no flaws.
Well, right.
Okay, well,
right.
that's-
That doesn't make
that's
him.
because
they
of the Holy
try-
Trinity.
they
That doesn't
try-
make him a
exactly.
good. That doesn't make him a good character. But at the same time, you think this is Tommy's attempt of showing off that there was a girl that screwed him over one time, or that showing how good. Like it's almost like it's a true story.
Yeah,
that he's trying to
I
recount.
think it's just it shows that the good guy doesn't win. Like he wanted to be like he thought he was being like powerful by showing that the good guy doesn't win.
Or he just
because
wanted to
he
screw with
tries and makes Johnny in this film a very likable and relatable character, even though it just fails completely. But I can see where he's trying to go for it, but I think Lisa as a character really embodies everything that's wrong with this film.
I can
Just
agree.
her character really embodies it.
But I think you had mentioned it. Is she the main character? I mean, I know Tommy, his Johnny character is like so infamous / famous,
Yes.
so popular, well known, quotable, whatever. But is Lisa our main character?
I feel she's
The
in the
story
movie the
revolves
most.
around her. I feel
Yeah,
like.
yeah.
I mean,
I think she is the only person in this film who really is a character. I think
Trying to
I think
accomplish something?
I think Johnny and Mark and everyone else, every other supporting character is so flat
Yeah.
and so one-dimensional. And I think Lisa, however screwed up her intentions are, has motive.
Right.
Where she has this vision in her mind. I couldn't tell you what it is because it varies in every different scene, but there is something that her character is going for.
And that's why I said she's an enigma. You don't know what's going on with Lisa.
all right,
And
let's talk about the other thing that was very prevalent in this movie: the sex scenes. About the third sex scene in, I got my stopwatch out and just kind of recorded how long.
no.
I got 7 minutes and 30 seconds. That's without like 3 of the sex scenes. So this is, I mean, basically a light porno. A lore.
Oh yeah,
Softcore
it's
porn, yeah,
basically
sure.
softcore porn, and you have to remember this was shot in 2003. This was made in 2003. Those sex scenes look like 70s, like golden age, like
the whole
softcore
film.
HBO.
And I guarantee you,
Showmax,
I bet you
like-
anything that those sex scenes were all filmed in the same day. And they
Oh,
just
yeah,
changed
well,
those.
they're the
They
same.
reuse
He just
footage.
reuses them,
Yeah.
and God, and it's so like, and the music. You got to talk about the music
Yes,
with the sex
it's
scenes.
sure,
Oh.
like soul music.
Yeah, it changes.
Terribly doesn't fit.
But and the amount of them are just attacked. It's ridiculous. How many do we have? Four, right? 4 or 5.
We get like 3 to 4 scenes that are very close, and then like someone interrupts.
People like to talk about Quentin Tarantino's like fetish with like feet. I think Tommy Wiseau just is like, gotta film as many sex scenes as possible. Gotta
I
write.
think it's
Yeah.
necks. If you think about it, the amount of neck shots there are from each character.
He's got a lot of necks.
He loves the necks.
Oh,
It's a little
He
thing.
loves Lisa's neck. Hot.
I think I think the main problem, you guys are making fun of it right now. The main problem in this film is the script.
but
writing
it's
is
of course
terrible.
the script.
Even the direction of this film isn't that bad.
I really don't think an actor could make some of that dialogue good. Like, they're not-
Yeah, no. I mean, you could get Daniel Day-Lewis and
Hi, how are you?
Yeah, hi. Oh, hi, Mark. Like, you could get him to try and do that entire rooftop scene, and he couldn't. Or we could talk about the flower shop scene now too.
That's like the coolest
That's
part.
a great scene.
That might be
you
the
know?
best. I think
I mean,
might be
just
the
when
best
you break it down, so Johnny walks into the flower shop. The lady behind the counter does not recognize Johnny because he has his sunglasses on. Honestly, Johnny's a pretty. It's not a face you forget, even if he has sunglasses.
No,
on.
'cause that's a
He's not.
weird face.
I mean, he's not. He's a strange kind of looking dude. So he walks in, dozen roses, keep the change.
Did he say a dozen? Because I definitely
He
heard
said-
1,000.
It sounds like 1,000, but it's a dozen. A dozen red roses, please. 18. Keep the change. Yeah.
Hello,
So,
doggy.
hello, doggy. Then he holds he holds the roses upside down. He picks them up upside down. Oh, hi, doggy. And then as he's walking out, the best part, the icing on the cake.
Echo.
You're my favorite
Yeah.
customer. But she didn't recognize him just 2 minutes earlier.
I think one of the other things that you just mentioned is pronunciation of words. That there's two characters. One's name is Mark, and one's name is Mike.
Mike.
And
Yeah,
Tommy
exactly.
Tommy
Wiseau.
Wiseau sounds just
Speaking,
like
it just
It's like my.
oh my.
It's like of Lord of the Rings, Aragorn, just
Yeah,
the
exactly.
worst version of that, you know.
All right, let's talk about the rooftop.
Okay.
Probably the most famous scene.
Probably the
Everyone has
most
seen this.
famous.
I'd never seen this movie before, and I'd seen it.
I'd seen
The
the
rooftop scene is by
Everyone's
far the
seen
most
it.
famous scene.
And it comes out of nowhere, too.
Yeah, it
It's a
does.
very quick cut to the scene too. Like whenever I don't remember what's the last thing that we see, but all of a sudden like the door is opening up.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's so quick.
And that's
I believe
it's
the
like a
scene
fade
before
out.
that, Lisa had called Mark on the phone, and he's laying in his apartment.
And then it just all of a sudden,
and the next
boom.
thing you know,
and
he's-
Mark's sitting on the top
Yeah,
of
he's
the
on the
roof.
top.
And just chilling with the football.
Yeah. Oh, the football.
Yeah, the football.
Of course. You
Okay,
gotta talk
Okay,
about
we got to stay on the rooftop.
Yeah.
Johnny's got like a monologue going on as he's walking up the stairs that we don't see, and then he finishes
Yeah,
it
yeah, yeah.
with talking to himself, and then noticing Mark, and of course delivers maybe one of the most famous
Yeah.
It's
or
bullshit.
infamous lines
Yeah.
of all time.
What kind of money? What kind of money? What kind of money?
Oh man, it's once again with the Denny drug scene. How just hysterical Lisa gets in that scene.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay, going back to rooftop. Got to stay on this.
oh, we gotta
because,
stay on topic. Yes.
Man, we're really good at staying on topic here at the Even Worse podcast. We told you the films are bad, and this podcast is even worse. No,
No structure.
organizational,
No
no
structure.
structure. It's literally
Just like the film.
Us
Ah,
talking.
yeah, just like the film, you know.
Really, there is no story to us. There's no story
At
to
least
the
there
film.
was, theirs was linear at least.
The rooftop, and that famous line, "Oh hi Mark." I was like, "Oh, that's great. That's so funny." It's like this random out of the blue line. I heard "Oh hi" and then a person's name like 100 times in that film. Like if
Oh,
you're
yeah.
doing, if you're doing like a
yeah.
drinking
Every-
game, you take a shot every time.
Oh, that would be a good
Fucked
drinking
up.
You would be dead.
Yeah, no,
It would be like
exactly.
$100 in alcohol. And you'd be done because
It's how every person is introduced in the, oh hi, and maybe it's so we recognize. Maybe he was thinking, well, maybe if I say his name every time they come in the room, they'll recognize the name.
be more
It's like-
and I know everybody's
Yeah.
name in this film.
Yeah.
I have left
There's
films.
so few amount of characters. It's not like Lord of the Rings where you could forget with the amount of characters. It's like we've got 3 to 4 that we're with most of the time, and we have to reintroduce them like every scene they want.
But there's characters that like the end of the movie, the guy who catches Lisa and Mark at the who is that?
don't know who it
the
is.
fuck that guy is.
I like to think that is Peter.
That's
but they
Peter,
had
the
to-
different actor
Yes.
of Peter. Okay,
Yes.
I mean
And they were
One-
like,
one
no.
more thing about the rooftop. It's not just the rooftop, but that green screen.
yeah. Oh, with
Just
the two
awful.
little churches.
And
back?
sometimes you can see like
Yeah.
the green screen shake.
Yeah,
I know I
it's
could.
I mean, there's a $6 million budget.
Yeah.
And that's the.
They weren't paying actors very well.
Yeah.
They better not have.
Yeah.
What was the money toward? That was my
I
question.
have no
craft
idea.
services.
it definitely
yeah.
seemed like all the actors were like friends, like what
sure.
we're doing here.
Well,
It's
like
hey,
I
you want to
said-
come shoot this with me? I'll give
Like
you
I
this base
said,
salary.
Greg Sestero and Tommy Wiseau were pretty good friends, and but yeah,
All right, so why do you think it's called The Room? I just don't understand that at all.
I have no idea.
so there is some explanation that Tommy Wiseau is given, but I think it's complete fucking bullshit, and I think he's just an idiot and decided
like,
to.
what the hell can I name
Actually,
this
I
piece
take
of
that back. Tommy Wiseau's not an idiot. He's a genius in his own way, but I think it's just called The Room just because it needed a title. and he didn't have anything better to call.
And they're like, oh man, where are we gonna shoot this scene today? Oh, in the living room. And
Yeah.
they're like, okay,
Yeah.
hold on, we're going somewhere. We're getting somewhere with this.
Exactly.
How do you think he like pitched this idea to like?
Oh, he didn't, because he did everything. I mean, you saw the first thing is Why So Films.
Yeah.
He produced it. I mean, he
That's true.
paid for it all. And
With what? He's got to be like some trust fund.
exactly. Well, a lot of people think he was in like the mob, and this was just like a money laundering thing.
Tell me why so.
I mean, there's so many like
That's
so
pretty
many
genius,
conspiracy theories around this
According
film.
to IMDb, he claims to have financed the film by importing and selling leather jackets from Korea. He refuses to further elaborate on this. But
Yeah.
according to the book, The Disaster Artist, he said Tommy financed the film from working in real estate and entrepreneurship. So there's your answer.
I don't believe that man
I
can
don't-
do anything.
I don't buy it. Like I said, I don't buy it. We don't know. It's a mystery. It's one of the fun mysteries surrounding this film. There's a lot of them.
There are a lot.
All right, let's talk about this party. Now, Josh, you had a theory about this party.
All right, so we have to get a big reveal where Johnny finally sees that Mark and Lisa are having this relationship.
Of course, and you would assume that'd be the climax of the film.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, obviously, the highest, emotional intensity, whatever we have to put in there. And there's one really odd thing about it that I had never noticed before until really this time. There's the theory is that there's actually two scenes that they put on top of each other that introduce the problem. So one scene has Johnny walk in
Mark Wahlberg.
and just confront them about what's going on. Like they hear them talking about things, kind of flirting, and he confronts them about what's going on. Ends up into a scuffle where he and Mark are pushing each other around, and then Johnny takes Lisa outside, and then the very next shot we have is Lisa and Mark in the same room that they had just left, slow dancing. And Johnny walks into the room and asks them what's going on. So my theory is that they filmed two alternate scenes to
Makes sense.
show off the
Makes perfect
problem,
sense.
and then they're like, oh, we got to make this an hour and 30-minute movie. So what other options do we have? But we'll just stack it on top of each other so we can have a little bit more action, a little bit more romance.
I would have loved to see the original copy of this.
And
script.
Oh yeah.
And the best thing about the script is it didn't have to go through anybody. It was just Tommy
it was
Wiseau.
It's probably 30 pages typed into Word.
Yeah. And just half of them are, oh, hi, blank, blank, blank.
Oh, I haven't decided.
And of course we need to talk about, Tommy Wiseau doesn't have a very good grasp of the English language.
No.
He does not know what the word fiance is.
She's my future wife.
My future
I'm her
It's my-
future husband.
I'm my future husband. It's my future wife. Doesn't know it. And there's also, I couldn't count how many times Lisa says, I'm not in love with Johnny.
Yes.
I love
Yes.
Mark.
Wrote
I
that
don't
down.
love him anymore.
And let's
I mean, there's
let's
so
go back to
many
the grandma.
times.
Okay, so she tells her this is very simple. People just
grandma,
pass it
Lisa's
by.
mom.
Lisa's
Yeah,
mom.
Lisa's
Sure,
mom.
Lisa's
Yeah.
mom. Sorry, not the grandma. She looks like a grandma.
She is a grandma.
Bad with names. Anyway, so she tells her she has cancer towards the beginning. You know
She
that.
definitely has breast cancer.
Breast cancer.
The
The
results are in.
results are in. Her reaction to that is like she just told her what time it was. She just like, oh,
exactly.
okay. And why is the film not around this? This is way more important than what's going on.
So much more interesting.
Yeah, of course.
And yet the grandma's always coming over there.
Yeah.
I mean, the sick I keep calling her grandma, but I'm not going to stop
whatever,
there.
that's fine.
The sick grandma keeps going over there constantly talking about this stupid relationship problem. It's like, this girl's dying.
And
She's
she's
got cancer.
Dying.
And then they never mention cancer
Yeah.
one
Again,
time.
not-
in the film.
not once.
Not in any form or
well,
fashion.
that just is just one of the bigger plot holes of this film. There's a ton of them. So
Pizza, for instance.
the pizza's great. I mean, she orders
Orders
this,
about 5 different
orders this
toppings.
complicated pizza, and then once we see the pizza,
Every
it's
time
cheese.
it's cheese.
It's cheese pizza.
All right, I've got another question.
Okay.
All right. So Tommy Wiseau, foreign. Obviously he's foreign. What is with his obsession with American football? Like, where does that come from?
And that's another scene I was going to talk about with the plot holes. They're all in tuxedos, this one scene, throwing around a football, but it never explains why they're in tuxedos.
No, it does.
Oh, it does?
It says
Wedding
they're taking-
pictures.
Oh, they're wedding.
Wedding
Yeah, I
pictures.
never
And you know
caught
what?
that.
They're taking wedding pictures, but Lisa's never seen in that scene.
Yeah.
Well, so I'm like, they're taking wedding pictures. It's like, so is he gonna see Lisa in her dress?
But why would
But
they
then-
go out and get sweaty throwing the football if they're about to take
maybe
away.
Because
They are
we are
taking
such
them,
good bros, and we are here. We are
We're
going to
close in
throw
America.
football
No,
around.
I think my theory is that he's trying to like seem like it's an American film and stuff.
Right,
You know,
yeah.
people
Right.
associate
San
America with
Francisco.
football.
Yeah, we're big 49ers fans.
So
over here.
there we go. Yeah. Let's talk about just the birthday song. First of all, this is part of the party. Happy birthday. That is just a test to the fact that anyone singing the happy birthday song, it is always
It's
awkward.
incredibly awkward.
Yeah.
And of
If
course.
you're not singing happy birthday to somebody, you are not having a good time.
No.
You're just, hey, thanks.
Yeah.
It's happening.
And then one of the best lines of the film to me is, "You invited all my friends. Good thinking."
Good thinking. I would have never thought of that. Who else would I
Never
have
thought of that one.
Who else comes to the surprise
But that's
party?
another thing. I mean, there's so many one-liners in this film you could just quote.
Yep.
And it's just you never get tired of hearing them.
Yep.
And it's amazing. It's just amazing that there's so many of them.
Yeah. Mhm.
Like, I mean, you can't just pinpoint one. I mean, maybe this bullshit that did not hit. I mean, that one might.
It's like, just a minute.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Wait a minute, bitch. Or you're just
in a
the
few
chicken.
minutes.
She
Yeah, the
just
chicken.
But these one-liners are just so unlike anything else that is
Yeah.
famous. That these bad movie one-liners are just so different, and for some reason they just mix with your humor just so interestingly. It just goes to the
And
show.
But we need to. Go ahead.
And is that why bad movies are so much fun to watch?
Yeah.
It's just like this. There's something so horrible about them, and yet we still have a good time.
This is one of the worst movies that's probably ever been made.
and we laugh the entire time.
It's probably one of the most entertaining movies I've seen in years. It's that
I've
type
laughed.
of thing.
I haven't laughed that hard.
Exactly. There are people that Cade paid millions to make jokes and make comedy every year, and that's not. And that didn't even
and it
come
ends
close
up
to
being
what
a
we saw.
train wreck.
Yeah.
Thanks, Amy Schumer.
That's the end of the Even Worse podcast.
Okay,
Alright, so-
speaking of the end, I don't know if we got to talk about the ending of that movie.
Oh goodness. The one slow-mo shot.
So
is
wait,
what I'd like to add.
okay. First, two things. The gun, same as the gun before.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
guys-
it's the same
you
So
guys
when
get that.
the drug dealer's taken down by Mark and
Yep,
Johnny,
I guess he
they
keeps the gun.
steal whatever the 9.
Yeah, but
That's why
the
not.
best thing about that is he's going to jail. He's going to jail. Tommy and Mark get the drug dealer out of there, and they bring him then. But they're back in like 2 minutes. Where the
Yeah.
fuck they put that drug
Yeah.
dealer? They just throw him back. Hey, don't do that again.
They
Yeah,
just
so
take
stay
him
out.
down.
they couldn't have taken him to the police station. They'd be like, so where's the weapon that he was using? And be like, oh, we're gonna take it home. But that's
I kept it so I could shoot myself.
What about Johnny's meltdown? They're just like Godzilla. He
yeah,
just
yeah,
and the
throw-
TV.
start
He
throwing
lifts,
TV
this
at
TV
him.
is like obviously this TV is more than 5 pounds. He lifts
Yeah,
it like it's nothing and just
yeah.
throws it across the room.
Man. Yeah, the meltdown.
That was. I thought that was. a
I
good
feel
scene.
like there is something about like indie films where they're like, if our characters break something, it seems like we have production value. And so he's like, what is the most expensive thing I can break? That's my Tommy Wiseau.
that was
impression. It's
$6 million
awful.
cleanup services after.
Yeah, could be. Yeah.
Put
Okay.
the TV out.
Who called the police?
Yeah, the police at the end. Nobody called the
Okay,
police.
I like to
that
think,
was
I like to
my-
think it's a neighbor because
Yeah.
Okay, but no, that doesn't
I-
make sense.
No, but
We talked about
I was
this.
talking about that during the film with Drew. That the problem is, so Lisa and Mark. Lisa leaves Johnny to go
Have sex with
have sex with Mark. Whatever.
again, of
and
course.
right after that, Tommy goes on like a 5-minute meltdown, shoots himself. All right, and then Lisa and Mark find the body of Johnny, and so you have to imagine that they were probably gone more than 5 to 10 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
Or
Lisa
maybe
and
they
Mark-
left, then heard the gunshot or something.
See, but
But
that's
then
the
Mark-
issue.
Mark
Y'all
was
are
at
thinking
his
about
own
this
house,
way
I
too
guess.
much because I guarantee y'all thinking about this a lot more than Tommy Wiseau.
I'm sorry we're trying to find the story
Yeah,
in a movie.
exactly.
But you can't find it because Tommy Wiseau didn't think about that. What y'all are thinking? It just happened.
There are
Maybe he
bigger
thought we were
holes
smart
in this
enough.
movie.
Yeah.
Maybe he's a genius and we're just not smart enough to understand.
I
his
agree with
I
that.
agree
'Cause
with
I can
that,
see it
you
that
know?
way.
I mean,
All right, overall rating of the film. Give it a star.
10 out of 10.
All right, so,
A plus for
so
me.
I guess we have to establish a criteria that bad movie. How do we rate these?
Are
bad
we
movies
rating?
on a
Are we
scale?
rating the bad
how bad they
movies
are?
out of like entertainment,
How
enjoyment?
good but bad? Like so how well that they're shit movies?
Yeah.
Is that what we're rating it?
This definitely is up there for how badly bad it is,
Like-
how
like,
goodly
are we-
bad.
yeah, are we
There's a
trying to-
reason we started with this one.
Are we
first.
are we having like a balance of bad and enjoyment? Is like how bad it is, but also how enjoyable.
Oh, the
it is?
enjoyment.
Maybe
I mean,
for
the
our-
enjoyment of this is just out of
Maybe
this
through the
world.
roof.
Maybe for our next one we could do like from a scale of 1 to The Room. How
Yeah.
bad?
Oh,
Probably.
hi,
Enjoyable.
Mark.
I mean, you know, The Room is just, that's why it was our best decision to start with this film, because it is
Absolutely.
the Citizen Kane of bad movies, you know. And
I feel like there's a better bad movie than this.
All right, let's talk about next week.
Okay, so next week, Batman and Robin, George
Yes.
it's a
Clooney.
doozy.
Yes, yes,
Chris
yes.
O'Donnell.
I'm so
by
excited.
Tim Burton.
Joel
Joel Schumacher.
Oh.
Tim
Joel
Burton
Schumacher.
had retired after Batman Returns.
Oh.
And we're going to see
Oh.
the movie that was only made to sell toys. Some of the best one-liners, some of the worst acting, and it ruined pretty much everyone in that film's career except for George
I was
Clooney.
gonna say George Clooney ended up.
Besides George
Chris
Clooney,
O'Donnell, was
never-
holding it on the NCIS.
Uma Thurman
stuff.
never had anything else after that. I mean, you can't count Tarantino's work. And
I can absolutely count Tarantino's work. We'll talk about that next week on the Even Worse podcast. Thank you for listening. I'm Matt,
I'm Drew.
I'm Cade.
Josh,
and this has been the Even Worse podcast. Where
Have a
the
good one.
films are bad. Wow, you
I really do.
see, we told you the podcast is even worse.